Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. With all the Modern Warfare 3 leaks arriving yesterday, one of the big questions is which teams are going to benefit or be harmed by these changes. FaZe seem very happy indeed if the game is going to play anything more like Cold War than it has done the last couple of titles, but also Shotzzy might be happy about the apparent much improved movement. Apparently it's Modern Warfare 2019 on steroids. Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. This map, I forget it, is it called Wasteland? This one, I don't think I've ever played this map, to be honest. Original Modern Warfare 2 map from back in 2009. This was the NoobTube map, right? If I'm remembering that correctly. I used to watch gameplays of it, right? People would just be spawning in, launching the grenade launchers across the map and getting kills. Not sure that's going to be viable for competitive when it arrives. I think there will be some maps that are viable though, as Hitch says, and this is the trap that people are falling into right now, and I understand why they're falling into this trap, and maybe it's not a trap after all, and the game's actually going to be good. But as Hitch says, I've told myself for years now not to get my hopes up too high, but if it's really going to drop with Terminal, Favela, Scrapyard, and a high-rise, etc., COD is officially back. Now, there's obviously more to this, and as we saw yesterday, if they are remastering all those MWIII maps for Modern Warfare 3, like 13, 14 years later down the line, then you'd think they'd also remaster at some point some Modern Warfare 3 maps, right? And this is what Octane says. This is bootleg, right? I think. I kind of forget, as I said, during Modern Warfare 3, I was just playing Black Ops 1, to be honest. So I didn't really play that much of this game, but these were a lot of the OG, yeah, that was bootleg, yeah, so here we go. These are some of the OG MW3 maps, and what would we want remastered here? Because if it's going to launch with all the old school MW2 maps, you've got to think that at some point they're going to remaster, unless they're bringing out the MW3 maps of Modern Warfare 4 in a few years, I don't know, but you've got to think that they're going to bring some of these back. And I mean, back then I remember like Arcaden, Bootleg, Hard Hat as well was a legendary map that was played in competitive. I think even maybe Downturn, I kind of forget which ones out of Downturn, Lockdown and Resistance, they kind of blur a little bit in my mind, to be honest. And Seatown, of course, as well, that was definitely played in competitive. So there's a few good options here as to what they might bring back, but as I say, I don't want to get my hopes up too high at this point, because I think that that is a trap that we've fallen into for plenty of years. But we'll get on to more MW3 stuff here in a second. Before that, wanted to share the teams for the tournament that's going to begin tonight, I believe, the August 16th tournament for the Warzone versus CDL. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar, it's not really Warzone versus CDL until I think the final rounds. So there's 4 rounds, and then the final rounds is apparently CDL players on one team, Warzone players on the other team, which is really what we're here for, to be honest. Whereas for now, it's going to be, you know, you've got Team Shotzzy, which is Shotzzy and Biffle. This is a nice team. I mean, this team is pretty difficult to beat, I'm not going to lie. There are, of course, other teams that are possible as well. So you've got Shotzzy and Biffle, and then as we scroll down, we've got Asim and Sage. That was leaked by Repulse, as we saw a couple of days ago. Cellium and Blast is a team, which is actually a pretty nice team as well, right? Because Blast, technically a Warzone creator, but you know, he was a pro in the COD team for quite some time. It's the same thing with a number of the Warzone guys, Rated, Tommy, etc., etc. Now, there has been some controversy about this. So when Repulse said Celly the other day, I was thinking, okay, did he just mean Cellium, or did he actually mean Celly? Because Celly is a female pro, and I think she's won potentially back-to-back, or at least she's won a couple of the Alley Cats WXC female league. So I don't know, people had an issue with this for some reason. I don't really understand why. The only thing is, I know that people have accused her of like cheating or something, so I don't know if that's true or not, and we're going to talk about more cheating drama later on in the day. But even if it is, there's Warzone players in this tourney, so you know, she'll fit right in, and that's a pretty good made over the last couple of days. This is Illy's team, is teaming up with Armin's, so there's 8 teams here, predominantly CDL pros, and obviously Celly isn't a CDL pro, right, and that's why people are getting annoyed about it, but I mean, who really cares at the end of the day? It's just for fun. Illy and Armin's, and then you've got aBeZy and Noob, so there's some good teams here, absolutely no doubt about it, but they're going to be playing some S&D stuff and some Warzone stuff, kill races, I'm pretty sure, and then I guess after all of that goes down, this is the final team here with Arsties. Actually, there's one more with Capsidal and Scumman as well, so you know, people say this guy's dodgy. I don't really know much of the lore on the Warzone creator side as to who's more dodgy than other players. I know the Sound EQ cheese is going to be out in full force, I imagine, and look, there's I think 150k on the line across these weeks, so might as well get involved. But intrigued to your predictions in the comments below. Which is the best team here? Like, I know that Shotzzy's was the first, which is probably why it stands out, but this team on paper is pretty damn nice, I'm not gonna lie. Shotzzy, I know, mentioned that he doesn't even know what the tournament format is going to be. He's just going to turn up and play, and maybe that's to his benefit, to be fair. And I'm not exactly sure how, after the first 4 rounds, they're going to determine how to do actually CDL versus Warzone in the final round. I guess we'll find out about that over the coming weeks, to be fair. But let's talk about Modern Warfare 3, because lots of discussion on movement, and we'll get into the movement talking points in a second, because certainly I think Shotzy's going to like it. And the way I see it, OpTic and FaZe, I think, should be rather happy with the current rumours that are coming out. We know that even though the pros are always going to be good at every COD game, certain pros and certain teams will like more games than others, just how it goes. And those marginal differences, if you're better at this game than the other game, can add up pretty significantly over the course of a season. Doug last year, of course, he went to the flex role, right? He was on the AR for some time. MWIII is going to have slide cancelling, we believe. Doug's going to be on a main AR, he reckons, for his team next year. So, he reckons that he's going to be absolutely fried going into next season as a result. And these, if you guys missed it yesterday, are pretty much all the things that we know presently. So the remastered maps we discussed, the way the perks are going to be gear, so Stalker, or like stock effectively, right, on your weapon, that's going to be probably a pair of boots you chuck on. Same thing probably with Dead Silence. Ninja, Stalker, 150 health as well. And for some reason I forgot yesterday that Cold War also had 150 health. I mean, I knew that Cold War's time to kill was slower, but it was almost like Cold War kind of felt like it could be 100 health, but just the weapons did less damage. But yeah, Cold War was 150 health as well. And the Krig was a 5-shot kill, right, I think, to the body, but it was 4 shots if you hit 2 headshots in there. I think that was the way the game worked. So yeah, and we'll get onto Cold War in a second, because obviously FaZe are rather good at that game. Minimap is back to normal. You know, this war mode that they're bringing back, reload cancelling, slide cancelling, lots of things we wanted, to be honest. And it might be, you know, the cynic in me says the reason why they're doing this is because the player base that's actually played the most recent game has dropped off a cliff. Yes, Infinity Ward made a lot of money for Activision when they released MW19, but I think they were, and obviously Warzone at the time, Warzone 1, but they were massively helped by the pandemic there. Like, I think without the pandemic, that game and Warzone would have not done anywhere near as well. So they kind of got blessed, I think, Infinity Ward by that, and now a couple of years later, they produced the same game, but arguably even worse, and then finally they've realised, you know what, this probably isn't the direction to take COD, and Cellium have been given the reins, it seems, to completely revert everything they've done. So, as aBeZy says, here with Cellium, right, 150 health, red dots, and Dead Silence. They seem very happy about this, and for good reason. It's what we said yesterday. Slasher will be fuming that he had his 1 season to play with these guys, and arguably they weren't at full force or full capacity, because these guys, I mean, Cell, aBeZy, Simp especially, I know a couple of guys were commenting yesterday saying Simp is going to be a demon again, and I get it, right, because these guys were unreal at Cold War. That was their game, and it had Dead Silence, it had the 150 health. When you've got a little bit more of a skill gap in terms of aiming with the 150, and red dots on the minimap and all this stuff back to how it was before, the game sounds like it's going to play more similarly to Cold War, right? I mean, a lot of the things that Sledgehammer are doing here, obviously it's not going to be a tryout game, but, you know, in terms of the characteristics of the gameplay, it might be more similar to Cold War than it is to certainly the more recent couple of titles. And then after this game, you've then got Treyarch's game, we believe, next year as well. So, you know, some people are saying, wow, we might get 2 good CODs in a row. I wouldn't, you know, get your hopes up too quickly. But it's quite clear that FaZe are very satisfied, it seems, with these potential changes, in addition to what I wanted to look at here from FaZe COD News. You put together just kind of some stats from FaZe in the CDL. This I thought was pretty outrageous, to be fair. So the number of 100-point clubs, they actually don't have the most. They're only 3rd most 100-point clubs. Kind of crazy as well that the Subliners are in all of these categories in the top 3, which is pretty impressive, right? This is the entire CDL era. But what I thought was most impressive was, first of all, 12 6-0 S&D sweeps. This is in the entirety of the CDL era, right? And OpTic Texas, now, obviously, OpTic are a dodgy one because you've got like Dallas Empire, you've got OpTic, you've got Chicago Huntsman. It's a bit complicated to include everything, but OpTic have only done 2 6-0 sweeps, whereas, and that's in the last 2 years. FaZe have done 12. The one that I find most impressive here is potentially the 3-0 series sweeps, which is really like the 49 of those, and the next highest team only has 30, right? And like New York Subliners have done 33 O's. But I wonder also about like reverse sweeps would be interesting. But the control has been the most impressive. Now, it's actually quite possible example, we don't even have control in the upcoming game, because it's quite, it's plausible, right, that we look at the maps that we have, if they're Modern Warfare 2 throwbacks, and we just play CTF on them. I think a lot of pros would prefer that, but the control record of FaZe, that was what made their season, I think. Their Search and Destroy was great, their Hardpoint was great, obviously in Cold War, when of the 6 events of the season, they won 3 of the 5 majors and the World Championship. I mean, it's the most dominant season of the CDL era so far, hands down. And that year, their control was just absolutely ridiculous. They had 22, I believe, 3-0 sweeps in control that year alone, which would put them, just that season of control gameplay, would put them 3rd in the CDL in terms of control sweeps. And I believe, so in the last 2 years, they've had 21 3-0 sweeps in control. In Cold War alone, they had 22. So, they might want control to return, and that's when that Cold War gameplay style that we might get a little bit more of something like here in this upcoming game, it just fit them really well in that game mode. So I don't know if FaZe are going to be, obviously they'll be happy with these changes, right? And Simp is in the reply saying, absolutely, get me there right now. This is going to be a good year for the FaZe boys. But if there's capture the flag and not control, maybe it takes away a little bit from how good they might be. The other side of the story here is on the movement itself, and this has been the big talking point of the last, few hours, really, on, well, as Blue says here. Now, I don't know where these guys are getting their intel from, but obviously at this point, some people have played the game. We know that Clay went out there, we think, to LA, or to San Francisco, right, to actually play in the Cellium facilities, and people are saying the movement is back in force, and, MWIII 2019 Warzone 1 movement on steroids. So apparently there's a lot that you can do here, and there's also discussions like MWIII 2019 is getting dusted. It's going to be like the MWIII 19 game on steroids, so I don't know if the sliding is going to be rapid fire fast, if there's going to be a lot of movement you can abuse in the game. I don't really mind it, to be honest. I'm kind of down for some sort of advanced movement stuff. Not exactly advanced movement, but some sort of skill gap in movement I think is good, and it definitely favours the players that are rather good at movement. Now, as Crone says, it's not necessarily going to be the same as when Ely hit the wall bounce ledge slide on Fringe from, from bar to top grannies that Killer was mind blown by several years ago. So it's not quite going to be that level of movement, but it's going to be more significant movement than we have seen for the last couple of years. And, Shotzzy, I'm sure, is going to be happy about that. Of course, it's not just Shotzzy that's good at moving around the map fast, but if there are lots of things to abuse, Shotzzy probably gets better as a result. So who's it going to favour, right, if the changes that we expect to be made are made to the game? I would say that as it stands, FaZe are going to be happy about it, the way that things have gone, especially in Cold War compared to the last couple of seasons. Still good seasons for FaZe, theoretically, the last 2 years, but it obviously not the same as Cold War, probably for various reasons, but I do think the design of the game was certainly one of them, and yeah, if movement's going to be buffed, Shotzzy's probably going to be happy as well. So I think that OpTic and FaZe will come out of this being relatively happy, but it doesn't mean that other teams won't be, because I'm sure lots of players are looking forward to playing these changes, and it's not like HyDra's going to be bad. I mean, HyDra's been ridiculously good the last couple of seasons. This I thought was crazy as well, that Clayster pointed out a thread that he found from 2020, right? This is obviously, before HyDra even came into the league. Another pro asked me who I thought was the best am right now, and I said HyDra. They didn't even know who I was talking about. People don't even know Talent Man. Heard he doesn't speak much English, unfortunately, though. Appreciate it, Goat, says HyDra. World Championship in your future? One day I hope that we can. So, of course, they didn't get it together, right? But, yeah, definitely, you got to say from Clay that premium talent scouting potential, because at the time, not many people had really heard of HyDra, to be fair. And, a few years later, and HyDra's got, to be fair, he came into the league and was immediately a very good player, and he didn't really speak much English, and it was pretty much his first or second season. Once he actually spoke good English and has had the last few years to improve, he was unstoppable last year, and I don't think it's going to be any different this current title, to be honest. But very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.